The 7 Years' War was a conflict between France and Great Britain that began in 1754 as a dispute over North American land claims in the region around Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. This conflict eventually spread into other parts of the world, including Europe, Africa, and Asia. When the Treaty of Paris ended the war in 1763, France ceded Canada to Britain and India became dominated by British interests. From 1748 to 1754, England and France had sustained a truce. France maintained trade relations with the Iroquois Confederation and claimed Canada and the Great Lakes as French territory. They began pressing south during this time from the Great Lakes to prevent the English from moving west. English settlers were moving westward, even as England was making promises to the First Nations in North America that English subjects would not move past the Allegheny and Blue Ridge Mountains. Virginia's Governor Dinwiddie sent a representative, the young and eager Lieutenant Colonel George Washington, to the French urging them to back off their claim of the region around the confluence of the Ohio and Monongahela rivers, near modern-day Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Events in the Pennsylvania backcountry would draw England and France into open conflict. Washington, with a small group of Virginia militia, traveled to Fort Duquesne to deliver the message. The French were unimpressed and dismissed Washington after making him wait 3 days for a response. On the journey back to Williamsburg, in the upper Ohio River Valley, his company discovered an encampment of French soldiers. Someone fired a shot and the short skirmish resulted in the death of a French officer, Joseph Coulon de Viers de Jumonville. When his company returned to their base camp, Washington knew that the French would answer and hastily constructed defense fortifications in a low-lying watery meadow. He named the site Fort Necessity, and waited for the French to appear. After 3 days of fighting, Washington was offered terms of surrender. He and his men would be permitted to march back to Williamsburg to make a report to the governor that sent him out. These were the only terms of surrender that Washington ever signed. Reacting to this incident, British officials decided that local militias were not adequate to challenge the French. They sent General Edward Braddock to reclaim the Ohio River Valley and to push the French back into Canada. George Washington volunteered to serve in his company. Braddock ordered a road built to carry heavy artillery into the area. Soldiers slowly carved over several months from northern Virginia into southwestern Pennsylvania. They were near Fort Necessity when a band of French and Indian warriors struck Braddock's column. Thus, the North American theater of the 7 Years' War became the French and Indian War. Braddock was mortally wounded and Washington organized the retreat, saving lives in the process and gaining acclaim as a leader of men. 7 When Braddock died, Washington ordered him buried hastily. Fearing desecration of the general's remains, he ordered wagons and horses to walk over it to disguise the location. The location of the grave was discovered in the early 19th century during a road-building project, and he was reburied nearby.